Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first ever Nasqaa, which is the North and South Q&A featuring myself, Heath, and my guest today is my fellow co-host, State. How are you, buddy?
Good evening. I am good, mate. Yourself?
Very, very well, thank you. So we'll cut to the chase and straight away get into what this podcast is all about. This is a direct Q&A to understand exactly the type of FPL manager in front of me at the moment. And we want to kind of get inside his brain, understand exactly where he is, what he thinks of FPL, how he plays the game, etc., etc. We've got a whole load of questions for him. And the idea is that hopefully you can be inspired by him and become a better manager, or laugh at him and just enjoy this as a comedy podcast. Either way, the most important thing here is that we get some insights to what an FPL manager may go through. So State, it's as simple as this. I'm going to ask you a certain amount of questions and I want you to be as honest as you can be. Are you up for that?
Of course I am. I'm me.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll get straight to it. So the first one is, I've pretty much given this away. What is your name?
State.
And what is your FPL team name?
My FPL team is Northern Super Kings.
What is your Twitter handle?
FPL_Northerner.
And the most important question, are you North or are you South?
Don't swear at me with the latter, okay? I'm a Northern boy. And if you can't tell by the accent, then something's wrong with you. That's all I'll say.
North was just a perfect answer. That's all I needed.
I didn't want to go there. I wanted to be clear about it. you know what I'm like.
Okay. So what football team do you support?
I support Rotherham United.
And why is that?
I was forced into this way of life at birth. My dad took me to one side and said, "You're going to be a Rotherham fan." Took me there, and that was it. And to be fair, I'm more than happy with that decision we made. And I think a lot of football fans probably followed their old man or parents or whoever the peers were into supporting a team. My lad is 2.5 years old. He doesn't realise it, but he's a Rotherham fan. He's got no chance in life.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So do you play football, and if so, what position?
Yes, I still play football, much to my better half's annoyance. But I'm either a fullback or I play a holding midfield role. A bit like a Xavi type player. If I'm in the holding role, I'm not a Kante. I'm more of a Xavi.
What did you just call yourself? You're not a what?
Xavi. I'm not a Kante. I'm a Xavi. Although one of my nicknames at football is Piggy Esther. I get called that for some reason. You take that from that what you will.
I think it's just the hairstyle. It's just the hair. That's the only way. It's definitely not the talent.
It probably is. I don't know about that. I've got a little bit here and there. I have moments.
Okay. So what is your earliest football memory?
Well, it's Italia 90. I was just shy of 6, I was 5 and a bit years old. I remember all of that tournament, but Italia 90, David Platt's goal against Belgium is sort of the real memory that sticks into play a lot. That was in the second round of the World Cup in the last minute of extra time. What a goal. But yeah, that's my sort of earliest pure memory, which I can remember everything of. I watched it on telly with my dad at the time.
And what is your favourite football memory?
1st of September 2001. That's my birthday. There was a certain game that ended Germany 1, England 5 on my actual birthday. You're not going to get a better birthday than that. I'll tell you that now. I mean, the only bad thing was it was all Liverpool players who scored and Liverpool claim it's their win. But yeah, great result.
And how long have you been playing FPL?
Not long enough, probably. 2006, 2007 was my initial season, which was I think the reason I didn't play before that, and was probably you can vouch for this, was I was at university for 3 years before that, and I was not in a way to do something like that on a regular basis.
What is your highest FPL rank?
Probably not as good as a lot of people out there. 73,223rd. I've hit the top 100,000 a number of times, but that was my best one.
And what is your lowest FPL rank?
Well, this is a lovely number. 1.934148 million. So never been outside the top 2 million. So that was only a couple of seasons ago as well, when I had an absolute stinker. It did coincide in the birth of my son, though, so I blame him for all of that.
Did you just lose interest, or was just the fact that just things didn't work out for you that year?
Oh, like I said, I'm blaming my son completely for it. There's no other explanation other than that.
I'm sure other people will understand that. So,
yeah.
who is your favorite FPL player?
It has to be for me, Kevin De Bruyne. He's my favorite FPL player. When he's on the pitch, you can get anything from him. You can get assists, you can get goals, you can bonus points, etc. But I just love Kevin De Bruyne. He's probably also one of my favourite players in the world as well. But as an FPL player, yeah, I love that guy.
And what would be your favourite ever FPL moment?
Well, it was a bittersweet moment. Okay. So in 2015, me and one of my closest mates went to Man City versus Newcastle. We were in Manchester for a stag do that evening. We got tickets to the City Newcastle games, an early kickoff, and we saw Sergio Aguero score 5 goals against Newcastle. I think he touched the ball about 8 times. Anyway, I had him as my captain that day, so I'm like, brilliant, get in there. And then my mate next to me, I'm like, oh, who do you have as captain? He went, Aguero. And I went, oh, well done. And he goes, yeah, triple captained him. Yeah. So I was just like, and we have a head-to-head league every year as well. And I just looked at him, I'm like, you did what? You didn't say that in the pub before. And I went, oh, I only decided a minute before thingy when we were travelling to the ground. I'm like, sneaky bugger. Yeah, so I was like really happy. Captain 5. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people had Aguero that day, but he then triple captained him. So it turned my sweet moment into a little bit of a sour one. So it came well together, but still a great moment, I guess, in terms of FPL for him and for me in a way.
Definitely. So you're from the north. So if you were picking from the north, which 3 teams would you focus on from your region and why, in an FPL sense?
Well, I'm assuming we mean current sides for the north at the moment.
Yeah.
So, well, I would choose both the Scouts teams, Liverpool and Everton. I mean, for starters with them, I mean, Liverpool, I just think for their sort of attacking options, and I don't just mean the forwards as well, the midfielders. I mean, defensively, they've got some great point scorers there. But you've also got, you can hit all of the sort of different sort of characteristics that we have, good from far, but far from good players, differentials, newcomers, set pieces, captain options. You've got all of those at Liverpool. You've got the ones to avoid in their squads, but yeah, you've got some good picks in the pack away from like the top players. They're always bringing someone in who can sort of make a difference on week on. Everton are there more for your bargains. I think Everton are now. You get some crack, especially this season. Some cracking players that brought in who have started the season well, but they've still got your sort of bigger players, but none of them are like in the tens of millions, and they score you good points. So that's them two for definite. So the third team are a little bit more difficult. I could go. Man City wouldn't be one for me to scout because everyone knows about Man City, not Man City, and everyone knows it's Pep roulette as well. So you're not gonna really mess around with that, apart from maybe a few players at the back for them. Man United, I just don't want to pick them, to be fair, to scout, because some absolute dickheads who are Man United fans and just don't want to do it. So I would say the third team I'd pick would have to be Leeds. And the reason for that would be because I could slate them whilst also mentioning the odd good thing about them, because nobody likes Leeds really, barring Leeds fans. So yeah, that'd be the final reason why I'd scout them. But they are good to watch as well. So you can get some great insight if you watch Leeds and scout them. And from an FPL point of view, you can see the potential point scorers and what they could do for your team as well.
Yeah, Bielsa's certainly turned Leeds from a a team that most hated to a team that most admire nowadays, the way they play.
Yeah. I mean, I still hate them as a club, but yeah, I love watching them. Can't argue about that.
Fair play. And so we, just to enlighten you guys, we have a scouted players section that we use on our regular podcast. So we're going to use the structure we have for that. So from your region, so this is the North, which current players would you fit into each category here? So I'm going to start with good from afar, but far from good. And if you're not aware of this, this is a good player, but a low scorer.
João Moutinho, Wolves. He's a lovely player to watch. You know, great on the ball. He's glides around the pitch, a bit like myself, you know. And he's great on the ball and that. He used to sort of set piece taker for them, but he doesn't seem to be doing that anymore. And so he's not going to score you much points and that, but he's a good footballer, really good to watch. You know, other people could come close to that who's similar as well, like Thiago at Liverpool, you know. Moutinho, I think he's really good to watch. He's a really good footballer, and he's been around doing it for years. You know, he's been everywhere as that guy, and he's still doing it now. And he's definitely into his 30s, I'd say, and still got it.
Definitely. Okay, so the next one is differential. So again, if you're not aware of a differential, it's underestimated but a big point scorer.
People might say this is controversial, but I'll prove why I'm right here and why you're wrong when you think that. Okay, so Sadio Mane is my differential at the moment. He's only selected by 2.8% of teams in Fantasy League at the moment. He's already scored 4 goals, got an assist this season, some bonus points. So barring Mo Salah, you know, he's one of the biggest scorers in the game, and he's only selected by 2.8% of teams.
I think that's a good shout, mate. I think a differential, if you were to really nail down how you would kind of define it, it would be how many people own him probably. And if it's less than 10%, 5%, then it's certainly differential. I mean, his price is obviously the reason why he's differential, but it's still a differential. So I think that's a good shout.
I know it is. Thank you.
So the next category would be a newcomer. So a new player to the league this season.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, he's not a newcomer. The one I wanted to pick, but he came last season, but he was injured for a lot, been out with COVID for a lot. I mean, I'd be looking at someone like Sam Maximin from Newcastle, who's, you know, still relatively new to the league. So I mean, he'd be someone who I would have been sort of thinking about there. But obviously, given he was there last season, I'm probably cheating a little bit. So I mean, I think personally, I'm probably gonna have to say, I can't say it.
Ronaldo?
Well, I did think about saying Ronaldo, but then I was like, no, if I say that, I'm just gonna get absolutely, you know, bummed here. So I didn't go with Ronaldo for that reason. So I'm going to stay with Sam Maximin. I can't go where I was going to go. I'm sorry. I'll leave that to the listeners to think where I might have gone with that. But no, Sam Maximin. I'm claiming he didn't have a good season. He wasn't available all last season, basically.
And he changed position as well. So he's now a striker, whereas last year was a midfielder.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's really good player, and, you know, great one to watch.
I actually think that he was around the season before, by the way.
You're killing me.
No, because I think he, when Watford went down, right, they had some Maximin.
All right. Well, I had a third option, and I knew you'd come back at me and won't let me get away with it.
No.
As I thought of it. Juan at Wolves.
Perfect.
He's one to probably watch. You know, he knows where the net is. And I think we mentioned it in our last podcast that Jimenez seems to be playing a bit more of a 10 role, and Huang is now the furthest one forward, getting on the ends of chances, being a poacher. He clearly can finish, and I think he could be one, and he's cheap to watch, so he could be a really good newcomer to maybe have an eye. If Wolves have a good run, which they're picking up some points now, he could be someone to look at as a newcomer player.
Nice. Okay, so who would be your set piece extraordinaire? I don't need to explain it, but I'll just say it's who takes free kicks, corners, and penalties
KDB,
for all
Kevin
three.
De Bruyne. Yeah,
Fair enough. I don't
yeah,
think any
yeah.
explanation needs to be said there, does
Definitely
it?
not. No, anyone questions it, go balls to them.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So, and the next one and the last one is who would be your captain fantastic, the consistent scorer again? I think this is pretty obvious.
Yeah, Mo Salah.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, you can't not have him. If you don't have him in your fantasy team right now, there's only one reason for that. Well, two reasons. One, you can only pick a Southern team like Heath. Or the second one, you have got some brain cells missing.
You've
Okay.
got Mane, so
Yeah,
Salah.
yeah. You may have got Mane. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, Salah's like 70, probably 97.2%, and Mane is the other 2.8. That's probably it.
So that's our scouted players category. So now we'll move on to the questions. So apart from Ben Foster, which current FPL player do you think picks an FPL team? And if he does he pick himself?
I think the obvious answer would have been Patrick Bamford because I think he's seen speaking by him, but I don't want to go down that obvious one. I think I have a suspicion that somebody like I think Will Hughes at Watford might have a team. I think
Now at Crystal Palace, by the way.
Oh, has he gone to Palace? Is he? He's on
Yeah.
loan now.
Nice. They've signed him beginning of the season.
Signed him.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. God, where have I been?
He hasn't played for them yet.
No. But I think someone like Will Hughes is probably a bit like that. You know, he strikes me as a guy who might play FIFA a lot as well, and I think he'd definitely have a fantasy team. I think a lot of people who probably like to play FIFA will probably have fantasy teams. So I know like Neil Mapai at Brighton has one as well. But I'm going with Will Hughes. I don't think Will Hughes will put himself in there. I think he's a smart enough lad to know he's not going to score many points. I think he'll, even if he were playing, he's not really a big point scoring FPL player. So I'm going to go Will Hughes. Hopefully Will listens to this and lets us know if he does. If he doesn't, why not? Please.
All right. Nice. I like that. I think Will Hughes is actually a very, very interesting character, to say the least. I'm sure Ben Foster's actually had some kind of input in that by having him in his video diaries.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to you. Now, what is your strategy when you pick your FPL team?
My strategy is I like to get players in who are going to get you clean sheets because let's be honest now, everyone picks big players to score on big points. So like your Salahs, your Kanes, Mane's, Ronaldo's, Lukaku's, those players, everyone's going to have 2 or 3 of those in their side every year. Okay, that's a given. All right. Nobody doesn't because that's where you get your big points. And so my other philosophy is get clean sheets in your team. People are like, well, you only get 6 points. They add up. If you get 4 defenders, your keeper and 3 or 4 defenders all clean sheets that weekend, you've all of a sudden got another 30 points basically there. You'll probably get some bonus points maybe from the odd one of them as well. So I like getting some defenders who can keep clean sheets. That's for sure. I'm not as bothered about assist makers as I am clean sheets. Plus, you get more points for a clean sheet than you do an assist.
Nice. Okay. And how often would you check your team?
Oof. Probably 3-4 times a week. I'll probably check it. Even if I don't need to check it, I'll probably have a look at it. But yeah, I'm on them. Yeah, 3-4 times a week. I'll check my team during the week. Obviously at the weekends, I suppose I'll probably check it more than that because at weekends I'm probably constantly checking like for points updates and stuff as well.
And when do you choose / make your transfers?
Generally, I go early, unless there's European games during the week, which obviously there is a lot more of now. But generally, I'm not going to take out my big players unless I'm making a really big move. So it's not. I like to go earlier, try and get there before price ups as well. Before the figures go up or down. If you've got a feeling you've got a player you want to get rid of, but you think his value might go down, get rid of him there and then. Same if you've got a player you want and you think his value might go up, get him in before it goes up if you can. So the earlier the better. Obviously you run the risk of injuries, but at the same time, player, the player could still pull out injured Saturday morning, and you've already done the transfer. So that risk don't take me. You've got a squad for a reason, guys. Use it.
And knowing you as well, you're a bit of a risk taker, right? That should be a strategy, really. You're not afraid to take risks, right?
No, definitely not. I'm all about impulse and, just going for it. Don't be one of these boring fannies and just plays like certain people. I mean, don't want to mention names, Heath, but yeah, there you go. Sorry, oops, I mentioned the name. Oh dear. But no, I take risks. I'm one to try and go big and go. It's probably why I'm not consistently, top 100,000 scorer, in the game after overall. Which but one day I'll pull off, and you'll find me somewhere flying.
What do you look for when you're choosing your captain?
Well, I think it's all about your consistent point scorers, like we said with the captain. Fantastic. You're looking for somebody who's consistently going to be playing games, scoring goals, and I think for me, the best player, regardless of the opponent, your best player who's on the best form at that time, at the moment, that's Mo Salah. But, like I said, you're going to have 3 superstars on your side who are playing pretty much every game, unless you've got a manager like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And then, but yeah, best player, Salah, it doesn't matter who he's playing against. He proved it last weekend against Man City. People would have captained him because of that reason. I mean, I one of them. I captained Ronaldo because I thought he'd play him every game, but he obviously proved me wrong. But Salah was quality against City. He's quality against a lot of teams, So he does turn up in the big games. So play someone who turns up in every game, not just in the big games, but will turn up against the smaller teams, the bigger teams, mid-table teams. Get them in and just be happy with that. Don't overthink it too much.
And I think you've pretty much answered this earlier, but do you worry about team value?
Definitely not.
You said the opposite a minute ago. You said you made your transfers early.
Oh yeah, I do, but I don't worry about what my team overall value is.
No, but what it means really is, are you worried about players going up and down in price before you make the transfer?
Well, I guess, I suppose my answer before, and I probably didn't see it that way. I don't think I'm that bothered about team value, but I am a tight northerner, I guess. So I just want to get something cheaper than what I could get it the next day, sort of thing. If the sale's on the Friday, I'll go on the Friday. I'm not going to wait till Saturday when the sale's gone off. But it's not about the team value. It's just about me saving a little bit of money to put in my own pocket, sort of thing, for a rainy day. So I guess you're right. I've contradicted myself big time, but I'm still quietly okay about it. I've got friends who turn around and say to me, "Oh, my team's like worth 104 million now," sort of thing. And I'm like, I couldn't give a crap if your team's worth 104 million. Don't bother me one little bit. It bothers me, about trying to get someone in at good value, but I'm not bothered about what my overall team value is.
I'll tell you what, if they're valued their team's 104 million, I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, they probably are. Yeah, maybe I should care about that. Maybe that's the problem. I'll have to think about that. Maybe I'm going to rethink my strategy after this call.
Yeah, ultimately, if anyone is listening and actually has any advice for State here, then please feel free to chat him on Twitter. You've got his Twitter handle. You got that early days. Okay, so what is your strategy when it comes to chips? So if you're not aware, it's obviously for listeners, it's the wild card, it's the bench boost, it's the free hit, and it's the triple captain.
Yeah. I think the triple captain is the main one for me in terms of like having a plan for my chips. Try and save that for as late as possible in the season when you start getting some double-headed game weeks. And you got to hope for a title race to be happening those weeks as well, because then you're likely to see big teams playing the big players in both games. I mean, Liverpool are always good for a double game week because they consistently play Salah and Mane because they haven't got anyone else to replace either of them. And even if one of them's on the bench in one of those games, you probably come on for 30 minutes like Salah regularly can do and score a few goals. So I save my triple captain for the back end of the season, and you're going to get a double game week. And like I said, hope for a title challenge, for it to be close where a team's got to play their best team in both games because they can't afford any slip-ups. And that's where you do it. I know a lot of people go early, but those people who go early, it's generally just after a winner of a single game week, and which is fine. If that's your prerogative, go for it. But my objective is to beat my friends at the overall season, and the best way to do is that, to get as much out of your triple captain as possible. The free hit, I think it's one of those that I don't really plan when to use that. I might just look at my team and think it looks pretty shit this week, so I'm going to just use a free hit to try something different, and because I don't fancy my team getting many points. Bench boost, again, I don't really plan with my bench boost, and it shows because most of I've got a couple of people on my bench where they're not actually going to play really much. I think 13 out of my 15 squad members play, but the 2 people on the bench aren't going to be high scorers. So again, it's not something I sort of overly use the bench boost. Again, I probably could do, but I don't plan on that. And then what was it? Is that the wild card? I've generally used my first wild card early doors in the season. I've already used it this year. It's normally done within the first 5 or 6 weeks, and I think a lot of people do that. And I think it's about, don't be worried about using it early. You get a second one after, once January transfer window's over. So, and then between that period, you can carry transfers over to help you out. You can plan ahead with your transfers, which I do a little bit more of now. So game week, wild cards, I'd say don't be worried about using it early. I like to use it early because you never know who's going to do well. You think you know who's going to do well at the start of the season, and then it could all just go to pot after 2 weeks, and you have to use your wild card, and that's what it's there for.
Nice. What are your biggest FPL goals / aims?
So this is a really weird one I've got here. It's not like to be like the best in the world or the best in Britain, which is, it'd be a great achievement, don't get me wrong. I would really like to, if I have a mediocre season, to land my overall score bang on my year of birth. That would be fantastic. Was that
1985?
1984. Yeah. So so if I could get 1,984 points, I thought like that. But now, because my son's born in 2019, I'm now thinking, actually, maybe I should aim a bit higher and go for 2019 points. That's my aim in life, to just land on the year. I'm not going to do it with my missus. She's older than me, so that means lower points. So I'm not going to allow that to happen. so yeah, but yeah, either my age or my son's year of birth. That'd be cool just to land on that. That's a goal of mine, but I'm not going to deliberately go out there to try and get it on there. I'd probably fail miserably if I tried that. But that'd be cool. But now, I suppose on a serious note, I wouldn't mind being like, getting like close to like a manager of the month type thing or something. But I think I've got to aim a little bit more realistic and just make sure that I beat Heath this year in the head-to-head.
I love the idea that if you're on something like 2,000 points, you make loads of transfers, taking out all the players who are in the starting lineup to get yourself down to 1984.
Yeah,
and then just sit there with no one can play after that.
Exactly.
The last week.
But then I'll make someone captain who randomly.
Bring in Fabian Delph.
Yeah, watch him. He'll come back from injury miraculously, score a hat trick, and he'll be like, "No, Fabian, what are you doing?" So yeah, something like that.
Very interesting. Okay, so we're getting to near the end now. So what FPL advice would you give to other managers?
Don't worry if your team does shit one week. There's always the next game week.
That's it. Nice.
It's pretty simple advice, Don't worry about it. If you want something a little bit more, I suppose, informative for them.
Well, no. That's what you've got. That's what you got.
Yeah, that's how I roll. Get over it after that call. That's it.
If you could change one thing about FPL, what would it be?
I would change the people who decide on who is regarded as a forward or a midfielder, and I would take them out in a line, and I would gladly shoot them.
Slightly controversial, but
rubber bullets. Just
okay, you don't want to kill them. You want to hurt them.
No, I don't want to kill them. I just want to hurt them because it really bugs me. You can barely, there's few strikers you can have. I know there's a bit there, but Mo Salah's not a midfielder. He's one of the front three. And I don't see him track back past his halfway line barely ever, which I'm glad about because he gets lots of goals and that. But he's not a midfielder. They need to sort of figure that out. Whether it's bring a new position in, I don't know, but I don't think that'd work. I think it's great how the format is in this goalkeeper, defence, midfield, attack. But I do think they need to be thinking more about these wide forwards. You've got certain ones who should never be in the midfield stuff. I mean, Rashford was in, I don't know if Rashford's still in there this year. I know he's injured, but never a midfield player. Salah, never a midfield player. There's some crazy ones there who are down as midfielders, and you're like, well, there's plenty of midfielders to pick from. So why do that? They're doing it so more people can get some of the top players in, but it's not like you can pay extra to have more money in FPL or something so that they could do that. Just put them in the normal position. Stop fanning around.
Fair enough. Okay, so this may be similar to another question actually, but pick your greatest ever FPL player.
Greatest ever FPL player.
Oof. And I believe that FPL goes back until 2002, is it?
Yeah, 2002, 2003 was the opening season of the FPL. Well, I'm probably going to have to go with, I'm going with Mo Salah. I think he's the greatest FPL player. And, it's not just because he's current, but he's been doing it now for the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a very opinionated question and everyone could have different things. We'll go on to something in a minute, I'm hoping will maybe make me put out there with other people, but I think Mo Salah would just be about the greatest FPL player ever.
Okay, so, and this is the last question. All right, can you choose your greatest ever FPL team if value wasn't in consideration? So if there's no value at all.
And this can be North and South players to get combined. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. Well, goalkeeper's Petr Cech. He just beats Pepe Reina for me. He was in that formidable Chelsea side who just kept clean sheets for fun. He might not have got much save, but runs points, but the keeper that pretty much guarantees you 6 points most games is a pretty good shout for me. There ain't many keepers who get goals. It's very rare when they do, and not many keepers who get many assists either.
They need to get that Luis Schiller there. Do you remember him for the Paraguay keeper?
Yeah,
took free kicks and penalties.
Yeah, he did, but that was in South American League. They're nuts down there. They're just crazy, the keepers down there. Look at Rene Aguirre, the Colombian guy. I mean, did a scorpion kick, randomly. He was dribbling on the halfway line in the 1990 World Cup against Cameroon and got robbed by Roger Miller, and that were it, But nuts those keepers are. But yeah, Schiller, he'd be an exception. But I don't think a Premier League manager like Sir Alex Ferguson would have allowed him to do that personally. So yeah, Petr Cech goes in next for me. Defenders, am I just picking an 11 here, aren't I then? Yeah. So a team. So Leighton Baines has got to be in there for me. Great FPL player. Took free kicks, took corners, took penalties. He got some goals in there. He's got a good chance of getting assists. Good fullback, and he played regularly. So Leighton Baines would be one. John Terry got to be in there, top centre half. I think he's the highest scoring defender in FPL history, and at least might even be in the Premier League history. I think he might have overtaken someone like David Unsworth or someone. So John Terry definitely has to be there. He might not have been liked, but he'd be good for bonus points with Terry. If Chelsea were up in under the cosh, he'd be the colossal at the back and get the mentions and stuff, I think, back then. Then go for a modern player with my third defender, Trent Alexander-Arnold. People say, oh, that's obvious, and he hasn't been doing it long enough, but who cares? He's quality. He's a fullback who's scoring 200 plus points. Him and Andy Robertson are both there, but no disrespect, Andy, but Trent's English and you're not, so that's probably one of the deciding factors on it. So I went for Trent. So that close mentions were Andy Robertson, Sammy Hippier, who came close with me. I don't people think how good he was back in the days, but he scored quite a lot of points as centre half as well back in the early few seasons of Fantasy League. big unit, got some goals, and Liverpool kept a lot of clean sheets under him, like when Rafa were in charge of them. So he came close. But yeah, I'm going with a back three because that's the wise thing to do when you need at least 4 in midfield. So that's the keeper and the defence lined up for me. Midfield, I'm going to have Salah in there because I've said he's the best FPL player, and I'm not saying that harshly. He should be. Kevin De Bruyne is also going to be in there for me as well. Yaya Toure, he's going to be in there. That's 3. And then my fourth one. So my fourth one, I've got like a list here that I made. So I had a few sort of outsiders here, which I think were really half decent shouts. Clint Dempsey and Tim Cahill, some ones which people might not go for, a bit out there, but they were quality FPL players. Then you've got your standards. You've got your Frank Lampards, your Gerrards, your Eden Hazards, Robert Perez as well as in there, and also Dimitri Payet I put in there. He was quality in the short time he was with the league. I'll probably get crucified for not going for one of Lampard or Gerrard here, to be fair. So, which I don't normally care about too much, but I think I'm going to go for Gerrard as my other one. So that's Toure, Gerrard, KDB, and Salah as my 4 midfielders. There's no holding midfielder in there, as you can imagine. Gerrard could have done it. And then my front 3, I made a short list of Drogba, Aguero, Suarez, Henry, and Vardy. I've gone with Drogba, Aguero, and Henry as my front 3.
Nice.
And those 3 don't need any explanation. I mean, you could pick other ones, you could prefer other ones, but I don't think anyone could argue against those 3 either.
Nice. Like it a lot. It's probably not the FPL team I would pick myself, but it's really interesting to see why you picked it. I mean, I agree with most of them, but it's a very interesting team. It's good to hear as well. So that's the end of the interview, but I'm gonna stick in here in any other business, right? So is there anything else you want to add to what you've said? If there's anything else you want to, bring to the table?
I could bring a lot to the table. Where do I start? Who knows? I don't know. I suppose in terms of just FPL as a whole, I just think it's just something to enjoy. I enjoy playing it. I've been enjoying our podcast. It's added a new dimension to the FPL for me, I think, and I just think it's great to try and something to talk about at work, it's something to talk about football or whatever you do socially. Something to tell your missus about, and she can say, I don't care, but you keep telling them about it. Oh, my fantasy team's doing well. When you're watching Match of the Day, and if you maybe haven't checked your fantasy team, quite a nice feeling to then say, oh, so-and-so got an assist. So it adds an extra dimension to watching football, I think. And some people might think, oh, that's not good, it takes it away, but I don't think it does. Especially for me, who's not a Premier League football fan. I think it gives me even more interest into Premier League football. So yeah, I think that's a big thing for me. It's just really enjoy FPL, and I suppose you try beating yourself each year as well, which is always a good thing to try and do.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, though. I mean, I'm not going to speak too much on this, but the one thing I would add to that is by playing FPL, it keeps you away from gambling, because people gamble because they want to make sport more interesting. I think FPL gives that innocent gamble, no money involved. I mean, some people play FPL for money and stuff, fair enough, but realistically, it does stop you from spending a lot of money in that kind of place. So I think FPL gives you that extra element of looking at football a different way, but also stopping you from making certain decisions. That there are people out there who obviously gamble and enjoy it and take it easy and fair play to them. But the people who go over the top, if they were playing FPL, maybe they might not do. Maybe they do both. I don't know. But either way, I think personally that I think you're exactly right. I don't think that I would be as interested in Premier League football, especially when the team I support weren't in the Premier League. I don't think I'd be as interested had it not been for FPL. But
yeah,
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure today. Really, really enjoyed that. I love the fact that you know, we've been able to kind of get inside that brain of yours and understand exactly how you're thinking when it comes to FPL and football in general.
I wouldn't say that you lot could understand how my brain works properly, but you know, you can give it a good go, that's for sure. I don't understand how my brain works. So if you lot do, please send me some hints, tips. You got my Twitter ID, so yeah, tweet me. If not, DM me, whatever.
And just a reminder for anyone, his state's Twitter handle is at FPL_Northerner, and mine is I'm Heath, and mine is at FPL_Southerner. And this has been your first ever Nasqaa North versus South FPL podcast Q&A. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back for some more in the future. Thank you very much, guys.
Good night.